Did you know the star of this beloved 90-second sitcom went from prison to Yale, that the entire second season was broadcast completely live, and that Fox executives complained the actors were too good at performing without mistakes? From a leading man whose boxing nickname inspired the show's title to En Vogue secretly singing the theme song, Rock was far weirder behind the scenes than anyone imagined. Fact 1. Prison to Yale pipeline. Charles S. Dutton's journey to starring in his own sitcom is one of the most extraordinary transformations in television history, taking him literally from a prison cell to the prestigious halls of Yale University. When Dutton was just 17 years old in 1967, he got into a street fight in his hometown of Baltimore that changed everything. The altercation turned deadly when Dutton, who had been an amateur boxer with the nickname Rock, killed a man who he claimed had attacked him first. He was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to serve time in a Maryland state penitentiary. But Dutton's troubles didn't end there. After being released on parole in less than 2 years, he found himself back behind bars just months later when he was arrested for possession of a deadly weapon. As a convicted felon, this violation added 3 more years to his sentence, and when he got into a fight with a prison guard, another 8 years were tacked on, bringing his total time served to 7.5 years. The turning point came during a stint in solitary confinement, where prisoners were allowed to bring just one book. Dutton accidentally grabbed an anthology of African-American playwrights, and reading those plays sparked something inside him that would completely redirect his life. After convincing the prison warden to let inmates start a drama group, Dutton earned his GED while incarcerated and discovered his passion for acting. Upon his release in 1976, Dutton enrolled at Towson State University in Maryland, where he graduated with a bachelor's degree in theater arts in 1978. His drama professor encouraged him to aim higher, so he applied to Yale School of Drama and was accepted, earning his master's degree in 1983. Just 1 year later, he made his Broadway debut in August Wilson's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, earning a Tony nomination and launching the career that would eventually lead to Rock. Fact 2. The Rock name origin. The title of the show Rock wasn't just a creative choice by the writers, but actually came directly from Charles S. Dutton's real childhood nickname that had a surprisingly violent origin story. Growing up in the rough neighborhoods of East Baltimore during the 1950s and 60s, young Charles Dutton earned the nickname Rockhead from his participation in brutal rock, throwing battles that were common among kids in his area. These weren't just playful games, but serious fights where children would hurl rocks at each other until someone got hurt, and Dutton's head frequently bore the bloody evidence of these violent encounters. The nickname stuck because Dutton's head would regularly end up battered and bleeding from these rock fights, making Rockhead a fitting description of his appearance after these neighborhood battles. As Dutton himself described it years later, he genuinely enjoyed the violence and chaos of these fights, and his willingness to take hits to the head while dishing out his own punishment made him a feared participant in these dangerous games that were unfortunately a regular part of street life in his community. When Dutton later took up amateur boxing as a teenager, the lengthy nickname Rockhead was naturally shortened to the more manageable Rock, which became his official boxing name in the ring. This shorter version followed him throughout his life, and when the opportunity came to create his own television series in 1991, the show's creators decided to use his real nickname as the character's name and the show's title. The connection between the fictional garbage collector Rock Emerson and the real Charles Dutton went much deeper than just sharing a name, as both had grown up in the same tough Baltimore neighborhoods and understood the challenges of working-class life in the city. The show's title, therefore, represented not just a character name, but a direct link to Dutton's own gritty past and the experiences that shaped him into the man who would eventually become a celebrated actor and director. Fact 3. Broadway reunion cast. What makes Rock truly unique in television history is that the show was essentially a Broadway reunion brought to the small screen, as all 4 main cast members had previously worked together in the same prestigious stage production. Charles S. Dutton, Rocky Carroll, Carl Gordon, and Ella Joyce had all appeared together in August Wilson's Pulitzer Prize-winning play The Piano Lesson, which ran on Broadway in 1990 and became one of the most celebrated productions of that theatrical season. The connection between these actors went far beyond just sharing a stage, as they had developed genuine chemistry and professional relationships during their time performing Wilson's powerful drama about an African-American family in 1930s Pittsburgh. Charles Dutton played the lead role of Boy Willie, while Rocky Carroll portrayed Lyman, Carl Gordon took on the role of Doker, and Ella Joyce was part of the production as well, creating bonds that would prove invaluable when they reunited for television. When the opportunity arose to create Rock, Dutton specifically recommended his former Broadway co-stars to the show's producers, believing that their shared experience and proven ability to work together would translate perfectly to television. This wasn't just a case of an actor helping out friends, but a strategic decision based on the knowledge that these performers had already demonstrated their ability to create believable family dynamics and authentic relationships on stage. The fact that all four leads were accomplished stage actors rather than traditional television performers gave Rock a distinctly theatrical quality that set it apart from other sitcoms of the early 1990s. Their Broadway training meant they were comfortable with live performance, which would later prove crucial when the show made the unprecedented decision to broadcast entire episodes live during its second season. Originally, Dutton had even wanted Esapatha Murkerson, another piano lesson cast member, to join the show, but she was unavailable and the role of Eleanor ultimately went to Joyce instead. Fact 4. Too perfect for live TV. In one of the most ironic problems in television history, Fox network executives found themselves complaining that the cast of Rock was actually too talented for their own good when it came to performing live episodes. A Fox executive was quoted as saying that Rock didn't feel live to audiences because those actors were so good they never made a mistake, creating the bizarre situation where professional competence became a marketing problem for the network. This unusual complaint arose during the show's second season in 1992, when Rock made television history by broadcasting every single episode completely live. The decision to go live was intended to create excitement and showcase the theatrical skills of the cast, but it backfired in an unexpected way because viewers at home couldn't tell the difference between the live performances and pre-taped shows. The cast members, all of whom were accomplished Broadway actors with years of stage experience, delivered their lines so flawlessly and hit their mark so precisely that audiences assumed they were watching regular recorded television. For most shows, having actors who never stumbled over dialogue, missed cues, or broke character would be considered the ultimate achievement. But for Rock, it became a unique challenge. The whole point of broadcasting live was to give viewers the thrill of knowing they were watching something happening in real time, complete with the possibility of mistakes, forgotten lines, or unexpected moments that could only occur during a live performance. The network had hoped that the live format would boost ratings by creating a sense of event television, where viewers would tune in specifically because anything could happen. Instead, the cast's theatrical training meant they performed with such professional polish that the live broadcasts looked indistinguishable from carefully edited pre-recorded episodes. This led to the disappointing realization that despite making television history with their live season, the show wasn't getting the ratings bump that Fox had expected from the innovative format. Fact 5. Secret En Vogue theme song. One of the best-kept secrets in 1990s television is that the legendary R&B group En Vogue recorded and performed a theme song for Rock that most fans never even knew existed. During the show's transition to live episodes in the second season, the producers decided to replace the original theme song with a completely new track called Live Your Life Today. And they managed to get one of the biggest musical acts of the era to perform it. The original theme song for Rock was an a cappella version of Billie Holiday's classic God Bless the Child, performed by Jerry Lawson, the lead singer of the Persuasions, along with 3 unknown studio singers. While this soulful rendition perfectly captured the show's working-class spirit and connected to the character of Rock as a proud family man, the producers felt that the live format called for something more upbeat and contemporary to match the energy of the live performances. En Vogue was at the absolute peak of their commercial success when they agreed to record Live Your Life Today for the show. The song was written by the production team of Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy, who were also responsible for many of En Vogue's biggest hits during this period. The timing was remarkable, as the group was simultaneously churning out chart-topping singles and performing on Rock every week while the show was broadcasting live episodes. What makes this collaboration particularly mysterious is that despite En Vogue's massive popularity and the song's association with a network television show, Live Your Life Today was never released as a commercial single or included on any of the group's albums. The song only existed as the opening theme for Rock, and while it occasionally received airplay on select radio stations across the United States, it remained unavailable for purchase, making it one of the rarest En Vogue recordings ever created and a piece of lost music history from the golden age of R&B. Fact 6. First live season. Since 1,950 seconds, Rock made television history by becoming the first primetime scripted series since the late 1950s to broadcast an entire season completely live, breaking a barrier that had stood for over 3 decades in American television. This groundbreaking achievement happened during the show's second season in 1992 and 1993, when every single episode was performed and aired live to viewers in the Eastern and Central time zones, creating a level of risk and excitement that hadn't been seen on network television for an entire generation. The last time a scripted primetime series had attempted to broadcast live episodes on a regular basis was during the early days of television in the 1950s, when technical limitations and the lack of reliable videotape recording equipment made live broadcasts the standard rather than the exception. By the 1990s, the television industry had become so dependent on pre-recorded, carefully edited programming that the idea of performing entire episodes live seemed almost impossible, and certainly financially risky. What made Rock's live season even more remarkable was that the cast had to perform 25 complete episodes without the safety net of retakes, editing, or post-production fixes that modern television audiences had come to expect. Every stumbled line, missed cue, or unexpected moment would be broadcast directly into millions of homes, creating genuine suspense about whether the actors could pull off each performance flawlessly. The historic nature of this achievement becomes even more impressive when you consider that it wouldn't be repeated by any other show for over 2 decades. It wasn't until 2015 that NBC's sitcom Undateable decided to broadcast its entire 3rd season live, finally matching what Rock had accomplished 23 years earlier. This means that for nearly a quarter century, Rock held the unique distinction of being the only modern primetime series to successfully complete an entire season of live episodes, cementing its place in television history as a true pioneer of live broadcasting. Fact 7. Jamie Foxx's early role. Years before Jamie Foxx became an Academy Award-winning actor and Grammy-winning musician, he was just an up-and-coming comedian trying to make his mark in Hollywood by playing a quirky, recurring character on Rock named Crazy George. Foxx appeared in 9 episodes during the show's 2nd and 3rd seasons, from 1992 to 1993, portraying Rock and Eleanor's eccentric neighbor who provided comic relief and occasional romantic storylines throughout his time on the series. The character of Crazy George was perfectly suited to showcase Foxx's natural comedic timing and his ability to play lovably odd characters who could be both annoying and endearing at the same time. In one memorable episode called The Love Bug Bites Back, Crazy George falls for a homeless woman named Linda, played by Debbie Morgan, who was staying with the Emerson family, and Rock and Eleanor end up playing matchmakers to help 2 lonely people find each other. What makes Foxx's appearance on Rock particularly fascinating is that it happened during the show's historic live season, meaning that Foxx was performing completely live on network television alongside seasoned Broadway actors like Charles S. Dutton, Rocky Carroll, and Carl Gordon. This early experience with live performance likely helped prepare him for the demanding world of sketch comedy that he would soon enter when he joined the cast of In Living Color and later starred in The Jamie Foxx Show. At the time of his Rock appearances, Foxx was still primarily known as a stand-up comedian and was years away from the massive success that would come with his transition to dramatic acting in films like Ray, for which he won the Oscar for Best Actor in 2005. His role as Crazy George represents one of his earliest recurring television appearances and provides a glimpse of the comedic talent that would eventually make him one of the most versatile entertainers in Hollywood. Fact 8. Solitary confinement inspiration. The entire trajectory of Charles S. Dutton's life changed during 6 days of solitary confinement when he accidentally grabbed the one book that would transform him from a violent prisoner into a future television star. During his 2nd prison term, Dutton was sentenced to solitary confinement for refusing to clean toilets, a punishment that allowed inmates to bring only a single book with them into the isolation cell for the duration of their sentence. Prison rules were strict about what reading material was permitted in solitary confinement, and inmates had to make their choice quickly without much time to consider their options. In what he later described as a moment of pure chance, Dutton unintentionally selected an anthology of African American playwrights that his girlfriend had sent to him from outside the prison walls, not really knowing what the book contained or how it would affect him during those long, isolated days. As Dutton read through the collection of plays during his time in solitary, something remarkable happened that he had never experienced before in his life. The stories, characters, and dialogue spoke to him in a way that no other literature ever had, and he found himself completely absorbed by the power of theatrical storytelling and the way these playwrights captured the experiences of people who looked like him and came from backgrounds similar to his own. When his 6 days in solitary confinement ended and he was allowed back into the general prison population, Dutton was so inspired by what he had read that he approached the prison warden with an unusual request. He asked for permission to start a drama group among the inmates for the upcoming winter talent show, promising that he would go back to school and earn his GED if the warden would allow the theater program to move forward. The warden agreed to this bargain, and Dutton kept his word, setting in motion the series of events that would eventually lead him to Yale, Broadway, and television stardom. Fact 9. Real Baltimore. Fake set. Despite the fact that rock was deeply rooted in Baltimore culture and Charles S. Dutton's own experiences growing up in the city's East Baltimore neighborhoods, the entire series was actually filmed 3,000 miles away at Hollywood Center Studios in Los Angeles throughout its complete 3-season run. This created the unusual situation where a show that prided itself on authentic Baltimore working-class storytelling was being produced on a soundstage in California, far removed from the gritty urban environment it was meant to represent. The decision to film in Los Angeles rather than on location in Baltimore was purely practical, as Hollywood Center Studios provided the controlled environment necessary for television production, especially when the show made the groundbreaking transition to live episodes during its 2nd season. Stage 4 at Hollywood Center Studios, located at 1040 North Las Palmas Avenue in Hollywood, became the permanent home for the Emerson family's house and all the interior scenes that made up the majority of each episode. What makes this geographic disconnect particularly interesting is that Dutton had specifically chosen Baltimore as the setting because of his deep personal connection to the city and his desire to showcase the lives of working-class African Americans in an authentic urban environment. The show frequently referenced real Baltimore locations, neighborhood dynamics, and cultural elements that Dutton knew intimately from his own upbringing in the Latrobe Homes public housing project and his experiences as a young man on the city's streets. The production team worked hard to maintain the Baltimore atmosphere despite filming in California, incorporating authentic details about the city's culture, local references, and the specific challenges faced by families in East Baltimore during the early 1990s. This meant that while the physical production took place in a Hollywood studio, the heart and soul of the show remained firmly planted in the Baltimore community that had shaped both the character of Rock Emerson and the real-life experiences of Charles S. Dutton. Fact 10. Live TV current events. One of the most ambitious and risky aspects of Rock's live episodes was the decision to incorporate actual current events from that very week into the show's dialogue and storylines, creating a level of immediacy that had never been attempted in modern television. The producers and writers would literally rewrite parts of episodes just days or even hours before airtime to include references to major news stories, political developments, or cultural events that had happened in the preceding week, proving to viewers that they were indeed watching something happening in real time. The most dramatic example of this commitment to current events occurred during the 1992 presidential election season, when the show aired an episode on the Sunday night immediately before Election Day. The episode dealt with the Emerson family discussing and awaiting the results of the presidential race between Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Ross Perot. But since the episode was broadcast before anyone knew who would win, the characters had to react to the uncertainty just like real Americans were experiencing at that exact moment. In a moment that perfectly captured the experimental nature of live television, the show's director actually interrupted the episode during the broadcast to address the audience directly, acknowledging that the election results were still unknown and would remain so until the following Tuesday. This created genuine dramatic tension as the fictional Emerson family expressed the same anxiety and anticipation about the election outcome that millions of real viewers were feeling in their own homes. Each live episode typically began with a brief prologue, where one of the cast members would speak directly to the home audience for several minutes, often mentioning specific events from the previous week or even from that very day to establish the live nature of the performance. These current events references served the dual purpose of proving the show's authenticity while also grounding the fictional stories in the real world that viewers were experiencing outside their television screens. Fact 11. Drug dealer, fan mail problem. During the second season of Rock, Charles S. Dutton became genuinely alarmed when the show started receiving fan mail from young viewers that revealed an unintended and troubling consequence of the series' realistic portrayal of urban life. Children were writing letters to the show expressing their admiration for Andre Thompson, the powerful drug dealer character played by Clifton Powell, with many of them specifically stating that they wanted to be cool like Andre when they grew up. This unexpected fan reaction deeply concerned Dutton, who had grown up in the same Baltimore neighborhoods where drug dealing was a constant presence, and who understood firsthand the devastating impact that drugs had on communities like the one portrayed in the show. The character of Andre Thompson had been written as a complex antagonist who represented the dangerous allure of easy money and street power that tempted young people in urban areas, but the writers had intended for viewers to see him as a cautionary figure rather than a role model. The drug dealer storyline was part of Rock's commitment to addressing serious social issues affecting African American communities during the early 1990s, when the crack cocaine epidemic was devastating inner-city neighborhoods across the country. Andre Thompson was meant to embody the threat that drug dealers posed to stable working-class families like the Emersons, and many episodes featured Rock directly confronting Andre and trying to protect his community from the dealer's influence. What made the fan mail particularly troubling was that it suggested some young viewers were missing the show's intended message entirely and instead were being drawn to the characters' apparent wealth, power, and street credibility. This reaction forced Dutton and the show's writers to reconsider how they portrayed criminal characters and led to more explicit storylines that showed the negative consequences of drug dealing, including episodes that directly addressed the violence and destruction that came with that lifestyle. Fact 12. Wife guest. Stars trigger live format. The historic decision to broadcast an entire season of Rock live came about because of a single experimental episode in February 1992 that featured Charles S. Dutton's then-wife, actress Debbie Morgan, as a guest star. This one-off live episode was originally intended as nothing more than a special experiment to see if the cast could handle the pressure of live television, but it ended up being so successful that it completely changed the direction of the entire series. Debbie Morgan was already an established actress in her own right, best known for her work on the soap opera All My Children, where she had won a Daytime Emmy Award for her portrayal of Angie Hubbard. Her guest appearance on Rock provided the perfect opportunity for the producers to test whether the show's Broadway-trained cast could successfully transition from pre-taped episodes to the much more demanding format of live television performance. The episode featuring Morgan went so smoothly and generated such positive response from both critics and viewers that Fox network executives and the show's producers immediately began discussing the possibility of making live episodes a regular feature of the series. The success of this single live performance demonstrated that the cast members, with their extensive theatrical backgrounds, were more than capable of handling the pressure and unpredictability that came with broadcasting live television. What made this transition particularly significant was that it wasn't planned as a permanent change when Morgan's episode aired, but rather evolved organically from the positive reaction to that one experimental broadcast. The network and producers were so impressed with how naturally the cast handled the live format and how much it seemed to energize their performances that they decided to make the unprecedented commitment to broadcast the entire second season live, creating television history in the process and establishing Rock as a groundbreaking series that pushed the boundaries of what was possible in primetime television. Fact 13. 3 cast members share criminal past. While Charles S. Dutton's criminal background was well documented, what made Rock particularly unique was that several other cast members also brought their own experiences with the criminal justice system to their roles, creating an unusually authentic portrayal of urban life that went far beyond typical Hollywood casting. This shared experience with incarceration and legal troubles among multiple cast members was virtually unheard of in network television at the time and contributed to the show's realistic depiction of working-class Baltimore life. The casting of actors with real criminal backgrounds wasn't necessarily intentional on the part of the producers, but it reflected the reality that many talented performers who had grown up in urban environments similar to the show's setting had encountered legal problems at some point in their lives. These actors brought a level of authenticity to their performances that would have been difficult to achieve through acting alone, as they could draw on their own experiences with the justice system, street life, and the challenges of rebuilding their lives after serving time. This unusual casting situation meant that when Rock dealt with storylines involving crime, police interactions, or the criminal justice system, the actors performing these scenes often had first-hand knowledge of what they were portraying. Their real-life experiences added depth and credibility to the show's exploration of serious social issues, including episodes that dealt with drug dealing, violence in the community, and the impact of incarceration on families and neighborhoods. The presence of multiple cast members with criminal backgrounds also reinforced one of the show's central themes about redemption and second chances, demonstrating that people could overcome their past mistakes and build successful careers and meaningful lives. This real-life transformation from criminal activity to professional acting success mirrored the show's message that working-class individuals and those from disadvantaged backgrounds deserved respect and had stories worth telling on national television. Fact 14. Boxing training for character development. Charles S. Dutton deliberately incorporated his real boxing experience from both his amateur career and his time in prison to create the distinctive physical presence that made Rock Emerson such a memorable television character. Dutton's background as an amateur boxer under the nickname Rock, combined with the fighting skills he developed while serving time in prison, provided him with a unique understanding of how physical posture and movement could communicate strength, confidence, and readiness for confrontation without saying a single word. Throughout the series, viewers could observe how Dutton used specific boxing-influenced body language to define Rock's character, particularly in scenes where the garbage collector had to stand up to neighborhood threats or assert his authority as the head of his household. Rock's confrontational stance, with his shoulders squared and his weight balanced on both feet, reflected the fighting posture that Dutton had learned during his boxing training, while his hand gestures often mimicked the movements of someone who was comfortable using his fists when necessary. This physical approach to character development was especially evident in episodes where Rock faced down the drug dealer Andre Thompson or dealt with other dangerous situations in his Baltimore neighborhood. Dutton would position his body in ways that suggested Rock was always ready for a fight, even during casual conversations, creating an underlying sense of toughness that made the character believable as someone who could protect his family and stand up to street threats. The boxing influence extended beyond just dramatic confrontations and became part of Rock's everyday mannerisms, from the way he walked through his house to how he gestured while talking to his family members. Dutton understood that someone with a fighting background would carry that physical confidence into all aspects of their life, and he used this knowledge to create a character whose body language consistently reinforced his working-class toughness and street credibility throughout every episode of the series. Fact 15. Cancelled despite critical acclaim. Rock ended its run in May 1994 after just 3 seasons. Despite earning widespread critical praise and making television history with its live episodes, because the show consistently struggled with low ratings that Fox network executives ultimately deemed unsustainable. The cancellation was particularly frustrating because while Rock performed poorly in overall Nielsen ratings, it was extremely popular among African American households and had garnered significant recognition from critics who praised its authentic portrayal of working-class life and its willingness to tackle serious social issues. Charles S. Dutton was deeply bitter about the cancellation and didn't hold back his feelings when speaking to the media about Fox's decision to end the show. He made the controversial statement that the cancellation was very good proof that what little quality there is in television is reserved solely for white people, expressing his belief that the network had never truly committed to promoting Rock with the same enthusiasm they showed for other programs that featured predominantly white casts. Dutton's frustration was compounded by his observation that Fox seemed to put much more marketing effort behind Martin, another Fox sitcom that premiered around the same time as Rock, but featured what Dutton described as buffoonery and racial stereotypes. He felt that the network was more comfortable promoting shows that portrayed African Americans in ways that reinforced negative stereotypes, rather than supporting a program like Rock that presented a dignified, realistic view of black working-class family life. The show's cancellation also occurred despite the fact that Rock had received Emmy nominations for its technical achievements, and Charles Dutton had won an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actor in a Comedy Series. Fox Entertainment president Sandy Gruccio acknowledged the network's appreciation for the show, while also stating that it had run its course in trying to find a broader audience, but Dutton maintained that the network had given up on trying to promote the show long before its cancellation was announced.